The air was crisp, the sun shining as I walked home from school. It was a normal day. Everything felt routine, mundane even. Little did I know, my life was about to be flipped upside down. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Sarah, my best friend. "You have to see this," her text read, followed by a link. Curiosity piqued, I clicked it. The world seemed to stop. The picture on my screen was unmistakable, my parents. But it wasn't them at the grocery store or on their usual weekend hike. It was them, scantily clad, in a stranger's arms. The blood drained from my face, my stomach churned. This couldn't be real, it was some cruel joke, right? Sarah's voice was frantic on the other end of the line. Her words tumbled out in a rush, each one more urgent than the last. "It's from that online forum," she explained, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "The one about that crazy party last weekend. You know, the one everyone's been talking about." The pieces started to fall into place. My mind raced as I connected the dots. My parents had gone to a work conference that weekend, or at least that's what they told me. I remembered their vague explanations, their forced smiles. Something had felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it at the time. Suddenly, those memories felt tainted, coated in a layer of deceit. Every detail seemed to take on a new, sinister meaning. The laughter, the whispers, the late-night outings, everything seemed suspect. What had once been innocent now felt like a web of lies. The happy family life I believed in felt like a carefully constructed facade, a mask hiding the truth beneath. "Are you okay?" Sarah's voice was a distant echo. I wasn't okay. I felt like my world was crumbling around me. I was lightheaded with shock, my heart pounding in my chest. The room seemed to spin as I tried to process what I had just learned. How could my parents do this? How could they lie to me so effortlessly? How could they betray our family like this? The trust I had in them shattered like glass. The images on the forum, the undeniable evidence burned into my brain. I felt violated, exposed. Every picture, every comment was a dagger to my heart. My own home, my safe haven, felt tainted. The walls that once provided comfort now seemed to close in on me, suffocating me with their secrets. I paced back and forth, my mind racing with questions. What else had they lied about? What other secrets were they hiding? I looked at old family photos, tears welling up in my eyes. The smiles in those pictures now seemed hollow, the happiness a mere illusion. Sitting alone in the dark, I felt a profound sense of loss. The family I thought I knew was gone, replaced by strangers who wore familiar faces. I took deep breaths, trying to calm the storm inside me. I needed to confront them, to get answers, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for the truth. With trembling hands, I picked up the phone and dialed their number. It was time to face the reality, no matter how painful it might be. The confrontation was inevitable. I needed answers. I needed to understand. The weight of the secrets had been pressing down on me for too long, and I could no longer bear the burden of not knowing. It was time to face the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The car ride home was a blur. The streetlights flickered past, casting fleeting shadows on my troubled face. Each passing moment felt like an eternity, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. My mind raced, a torrent of questions and accusations. Why had they kept this from me? What else were they hiding? The uncertainty gnawed at me, each unanswered question a sharp pang in my chest. Bursting through the front door, I found my parents in the living room. Their startled expressions told me they hadn't expected me to confront them so soon, but I couldn't wait any longer. The truth had to come out. Their faces, usually etched with warmth, were now masks of apprehension. The room, once a sanctuary of comfort, now felt like a battleground. The silence was deafening, a prelude to the storm that was about to break. The air crackled with tension. How could you? The words erupted from me, fueled by a mix of anger and desperation. I needed them to understand the depth of my hurt. The words ripped from my throat, raw and ragged. Each syllable was a release of the pent-up frustration and pain that had been building inside me for so long. My voice trembled with a potent mix of anger and betrayal. I had always trusted them, believed in them. And now that trust was shattered, lying in pieces at my feet. The color drained from my parents' faces. They knew. They knew the gravity of what they had done, the impact it had on me. Their silence spoke volumes. They knew I had seen the truth, the ugly truth they had been hiding. The facade they had maintained for so long was crumbling, and there was no turning back. There were tears, justifications, pleas for understanding. They tried to bridge the chasm that had opened between us, but their words felt hollow. their explanations insufficient. They tried to explain their lifestyle, their arrangement. They spoke of choices, of circumstances, of things I couldn't fully grasp. But their attempts to rationalize their actions only deepened my sense of betrayal. But all I heard were hollow words, flimsy excuses that did little to mend the shattered remains of my trust. The bond we once shared felt irreparably broken, and I couldn't see a way to piece it back together. The confrontation had brought the truth to light, but it had also cast a long shadow over our family, one that would take a long time to dispel. The following days were a blur of anger, confusion, and a deep, gnawing shame. I felt like I was living someone else's life, trapped in a bad soap opera. My parents, once pillars of strength and stability, were now strangers. Their betrayal cut deep, leaving me reeling. Their apologies felt empty, their reassurances hollow. How could I ever look at them the same way again? How could I erase the images seared into my mind? Sleep offered no escape. Nightmares plagued me, replaying the scene of their betrayal on a continuous loop. Food tasted like ash in my mouth. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, leaving me disoriented and lost. Section 5. Seeking Solace. Finding Storm. I needed to escape the suffocating atmosphere of our home. I needed someone to understand, someone to validate the storm raging inside me. So I did something I never thought I would do. I called my grandparents. My grandparents, my father's parents, were the epitome of tradition, of old-fashioned values. They were devout churchgoers, their lives governed by a strict moral code. Telling them about my parents' secret felt like dropping a bomb, and I braced myself for the fallout. The phone call was short, strained. I could hear the shock in their voices, the disbelief. "Are you sure?" my grandmother asked, her voice trembling. I could tell she didn't want to believe it, that this truth was too painful to bear. Section 6. The Grandparents' Verdict. My grandparents arrived the next day, their faces etched with concern and a palpable disappointment. The air in the house was thick with tension. My parents, shamefaced and defensive, tried to explain their choices, their freedom. But my grandparents weren't buying it. Their disappointment was palpable. "This isn't right," my grandfather stated, his voice shaking with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "This isn't the family we raised." The following hours were a blur of hushed conversations, tearful arguments, and accusations hurled like weapons. I felt like a spectator in my own life, watching as my family imploded, the pieces of our seemingly perfect life scattering like dust in the wind. Section 7. Picking up the pieces. In the aftermath of the storm, a decision had to be made. I couldn't stay in that house, couldn't bear to be near my parents. The weight of their betrayal was too heavy, the air too thick with deceit. "You can come stay with us," my grandmother offered, her voice soft but firm. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a lifeline. And in that moment, I knew it was my only option. Packing my bags felt surreal. I was leaving behind not just a house, but a life, a family. The life I knew, the one built on a foundation of lies, was gone. Section 8. The Aftermath. Moving in with my grandparents was a jarring transition. Their house, with its old-fashioned furniture and the faint scent of mothballs, was a world away from the modern, carefree environment I was used to. My parents were devastated by my decision. "Please, sweetheart, don't do this," my mother had pleaded, her voice thick with tears. "We can work this out." But the damage was done. The trust was shattered. School became a refuge, a place to escape the turmoil at home. But even there, whispers followed me. The news of my parents' lifestyle had spread like wildfire, turning me into an object of pity and gossip. Section 9. A Future Uncertain. Living with my grandparents has brought a strange sense of calm. Their home is a sanctuary, a place where the chaos of the outside world seems to fade away. The gentle hum of their daily routines, the warmth of their presence, and the simplicity of their lives create a cocoon of safety around me. There's a routine, a predictability that's comforting in the midst of chaos. Every morning, my grandmother prepares breakfast with the same meticulous care, and my grandfather reads the newspaper with a quiet focus. These small, consistent acts are a balm to my weary soul. But the pain of my parents' betrayal lingers, a dull ache in my chest that refuses to fade. It's a constant reminder of the trust that was broken, the promises that were shattered. I find myself replaying the events in my mind, trying to make sense of it all, but the answers elude me. I haven't spoken to them much. The phone sits on the table, a silent witness to my indecision. Each time I think about calling, a wave of anxiety washes over me, and I hesitate, unsure of what to say or how to bridge the gap that has grown between us. Each phone call is strained, filled with awkward silences and forced pleasantries. We dance around the issues, avoiding the topics that matter most. It's as if we're speaking different languages, unable to truly connect or understand each other. They're trying to respect my space, to give me the time I need. I can see the concern in their eyes, the worry etched on their faces. They want to make things right, but they don't know how, and neither do I. But a part of me wonders if we'll ever bridge the chasm their choices created. The distance between us feels insurmountable at times, a vast expanse of hurt and misunderstanding. I look at old family photos and feel a pang of longing for what once was, for the closeness we used to share. My future feels uncertain, a path shrouded in fog. I stand at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. The road ahead is unclear, and the weight of my past choices and experiences bears down on me, making it difficult to move forward. But amidst the uncertainty, one thing is clear. I deserve honesty, respect, and a family that puts love and commitment above all else. I am determined to find my own path, to create a future that is built on trust and mutual respect. I know that I have the strength to overcome the challenges that lie ahead. Whether my parents can offer me that remains to be seen. I hope that in time we can find a way to heal and rebuild our relationship. But for now, I must focus on myself, on my own journey towards healing and self-discovery. For now, I focus on healing, on rebuilding my life, one fragile piece at a time. I immerse myself in activities that bring me joy and peace, whether it's reading a good book, taking long walks in nature, or simply spending time with my grandparents. Each day is a step towards recovery, a chance to reclaim my sense of self and find my own way forward.